film versus digital film? That is the question. And I got a video for you guys about that subject. This is a video from Aputure. Between celluloid film strips, traditional filmmaking, and the more recent digital filmmaking. The more recent digital. Excuse me. Anywho, personally, which one do I like more? Well, both of them have their ups and downs. People like both for different reasons. Personally, for me, though, I'm more of a digital guy. I started shooting with digital cameras. That's what I use. I just use digital cameras. I have never shot with a film camera before. Now, that doesn't mean I don't want to shoot with a film camera. It's just I haven't really had much incentive to shoot one. Because for me, there's a couple reasons. Number one is costs. For me, it's much more cost efficient to shoot with a digital camera. And the image quality, that's debatable, like which one's better. For digital, for me, when it comes to digital, it's not all that bad. Maybe my eyes are just very used to it. There could be different reasons for that. And like I said, I'm not totally against film, shooting on film. Like, I have an idea to shoot a 16mm film and upload it to my other YouTube channel, Twilight City Studios. Excuse me. Now, I don't know when I'll actually get around to doing that. It may be months or years from now. It depends on success in terms of career. It depends on a whole variety of factors. How much money I'm willing to spend, how much cash flow I'm getting. But for right now, I'm going to do a response video here to Aputure on film versus digital. And I'm going to respond to what this guy says.
Film has been around since the 1800s. The oldest surviving motion picture film dates back to 1888, a whopping 2-second-long short film called The Round Hay Garden Scene. The first...
That's pretty cool. I'm a history buff as well, so seeing that film has been around for much longer, and being able to capture moments in history with film like that is pretty cool. Like, we have footage of like World War II, World War I, Vietnam, other instances of history because of film.
First digital movie, on the other hand, was a movie we all love to hate, The Phantom Menace, in 1999.
Now, that I'm not actually too sure about, because I watched a documentary on film versus digital, and it said that digital cameras had been in work for a couple decades previously, and they've been around for a couple decades previously. The Phantom Menace, though, the reason, I don't agree that's the first digital film. That's like calling the train robbery film, in my opinion, that's like calling that train robbery film the first film, or calling that one film where they shoot a rocket off to the moon the first film, or The Birth of a Nation, just because it was a bigger production. Like, I'm not sure if that's a really fair comparison, because, like I said, there was digital video or film before The Phantom Menace. It's just what makes The Phantom Menace special is that George Lucas is a big fan of digital filmmaking, and he shot a lot of that film with digital cameras. But actually, some of it was shot with film, and it wasn't until actually episode 2, according to this documentary, Film versus Digital, that I watched, or maybe, no, it was called Side by Side, that he shot everything digitally. I'm going off of memory here, so if I incorrectly forget something, I apologize, but from my memory, I remember, according to the documentary, the first fully digital film, like on a major scale, like a large budget production here, was Attack of the Clones. It was not Phantom Menace. But Phantom Menace was shot with some digital cameras, and it was also one of the first major films, possibly the first major motion picture, where digital projectors were used instead of film projectors at a movie theater. But I don't agree that it was the first digital film. Like I said earlier, that would be like calling Birth of a Nation the first film, or film, or calling the train robbery movie the first film. When he showed that 2-second long clip, why? Yeah, I don't agree with that. So anyway, let's go on.
Many filmmakers like Paul Thomas Anderson, Christopher Nolan, and Quentin Tarantino have all expressed their preference for film over digital.
Well, good for them. If they're film directors, they've worked hard, they've built up their careers, they're in a position of power, in a position of privilege and authority, and able to do that. They have that kind of privilege. They have that kind of power because of their name, their stature. They're big, famous people. They have marketing behind their names alone. So Christopher Nolan can get that because of his position in the industry. But someone who's just starting out, like around my age or younger, we don't have that kind of luxury. You know, if you want to, if you're in your early 20s and you want to still shoot on film, you know, go ahead. But you don't have that same kind of brand recognition that someone like Christopher Nolan or Quentin Tarantino has. They've built up their careers. So, and you know what? If they want to shoot with film, that's totally fine. I can understand that because they grew up with film. They grew up shooting like 8mm film or 16mm films before making it on a big budget scene. So that's what they're used to, and that's what they're comfortable with. And they're they're the director of the film. So if they want to go with that, more power to them. But just because they're big time directors and they're using film, that doesn't automatically make shooting on film better. It depends on your own personal preferences and your own taste. Just because Christopher Nolan's doing it doesn't mean it's going to work for you.
While others say, in the end, the story is all that matters.
And I actually agree with that more so. I agree with those people that say that. Because, in the end, the content is what matters more. You know, you can shoot... There's The Room, for instance. The Room from 2003. That was shot with 35mm. Did shooting it on film improve its public reception? No, it didn't. You can actually go to a movie theater, like a not a major movie theater, but like a local movie theater to a certain city. They with the midnight screenings, they may screen it on the 35 projections, depending if the movie theater has it or not. My point is, like, just because something's shot on film doesn't automatically make it a better movie. It depends on the content. The content matters more. You can Goodfellas wasn't great because it was shot on film. It was great because of the content of the movie, and etc. etc. Also, these are all just different perceptions and stuff like that. Like, some people probably hate Goodfellas, or they're like meh about it. Like, I think it's a really awesome film, and I highly doubt that the camera that was used to if it was used with a film camera or a digital camera, I don't think it really would have made that much of a difference. I saw The Hateful Eight from Quentin Tarantino on 70mm when he did his roadshow theatrical screens for The Hateful Eight. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I see online all the time comments saying, "Oh yeah, let's go. You know, the 70. You know, you got to see it on the big screen. You know, you're gonna really be blown away. You're gonna see how great the quality is when you see it on the big screen." So I'm like, okay, sure. All right, fine. I'll give it a shot. Why not? I haven't seen a film projected on a film projection for a while, so why the hell not? I got nothing to lose. So I go to the movie theater. I watched The Hateful Eight on 70mm, and it didn't look that much different from a 4K projection. It really didn't. Maybe like minor things here and there, but you really gotta focus on them. And you know what? I'm too caught up trying to pay attention to the movie itself to worry about, you know, the difference between a 4K projector or a 70mm film projector. Like, honestly, that wasn't much of a difference, people. I didn't see much of a difference. It kind of blended together. Like, it didn't really look that much. It really didn't look that different. I'm like, here I am watching this movie that was shot in 70mm film. It's being projected with 70mm projection, and I'm like, I don't see that much. I mean, it doesn't really seem that different to me. It pretty much seems the same. Why are people talking about 70mm or 35mm as if it's this great, big, superior quality content compared to using a 4K camera or a 1080 HD camera? I don't see where this. I don't see it. I just don't. I really don't. It really doesn't make that much of a difference to me. And I enjoyed the movie, and that wasn't because it was shot with 70mm. If it was shot with 4K cameras or 8K cameras, whatever, or even 1080 HD cameras, I'm sure I still would have enjoyed the movie regardless because I just enjoyed the movie. Like the content of the movie. I like the actors, I like the dialogue between the characters. I like the story for the most part. And like and whatever criticisms people had of the movie, it probably wasn't based on which cameras they shot with. It was probably based on whether they like the characters or not, whether they like the writing or not, whether they like the story or not. And some people definitely don't like The Hateful Eight. They don't like it, the movie. They think it's bad. They don't like the characters. They don't like the writing. They don't like the story. So that really has nothing to. That really had little to nothing to do with the cameras that they shot on.
So let's break down some of the technical comparisons of film versus digital. Number 1, resolution. This is a very difficult comparison. Film strips are made of silver halide chemicals, and digital photos are made of pixels, and it's like comparing apples and oranges.
Okay.
However, the majority of film scans have shown that a traditional 35mm film frame scans to about 3K resolution, while 15 perf 70mm IMAX scans to 18K resolution. While Red's newest release of the weapon can shoot in 8K resolution, it seems that 70mm film still beats out digital in this case.
And in that case, that still is not enough for me personally to invest money into a 70mm camera, or a 35mm camera for that matter. I find it more feasible, more economically friendly, money friendly for me to use digital as of right now. And some people might say, like, well, why are you caring so much about the money? Because it matters to me. Like, I don't want to pay too much money, for that. I don't feel comfortable with it. If you want to do that, go ahead. But that's not me, though. If other filmmakers want to do that, then, go ahead and do that. But as of right now, as of making this video, I'm just not in a comfortable position in my mind to do that. And I honestly just I don't feel this passion to go shoot on film right now. In the case of 70K being, not 70K, 70mm being better than 8K in terms of IMAX projection, I saw the Hateful Eight movie in 2D on 70mm. So if it is technically better, then cool. Hey, cool, it is. But like I said, that's not enough of an incentive for me to go and use a 70mm camera because, like I said, I'm not Quentin Tarantino. I'm not Christopher Nolan. Like, I don't have the budget to be able to do that. I can't afford to do that as of right now. The other reason is, like, I've seen plenty of movies or videos that were shot with digital cameras, and, like, I thought it was fine. Like, I understand, like, I don't, like, some people make a big deal about this, and it's not that big of a deal to me. To me, it's about, like, what you as a creator want to do. If you want to use film camera, then use a film camera. If you want to use a digital camera, then use a digital camera. Like I said, it's not that big of a deal. But technically speaking, in this particular case, if it's a 70mm IMAX projection or camera, then it beats out the digital cameras as of right now, which is cool. If you want to go, if you're willing to, cough up the money somehow and make that happen. But like, I wouldn't personally, for me, I wouldn't get too caught up with that. I'm not going to worry about that kind of thing. I'm not going to lose sleep over it. It doesn't really bother me too much. But it's still cool regardless, though. And I'm wondering, like, how digital could compete with that. Like, digital cameras have come a long way in the past 20 years, and they're still improving. So we'll see what happens. We will see.
Number 2, economics. The cost of a 35mm film camera like the Panavision Millennium XL2, which shot movies like La La Land and The Force Awakens, costs well over $150,000, while a digital camera like the Arri Alexa costs close to
$150,000. So yeah, like, that's the thing right there. Like, $150K, man. Like, now granted, people usually rent these cameras, and he's gonna explain that later. So I'll let him explain that. And here's a digital camera for $60,000.
These numbers are reducted, though, given how quickly digital technology evolves, data storage versus the cost of film rolls, and the cost of an entire lens kit, which is why
And that's another thing right there about cost. Like, when it comes to digital, I don't have to keep getting more film stock. I can just take the cards, and then when it's fully loaded, I can put them onto an external hard drive. Now, sure, those have cost too, but to me, not as much as film stock. And it also depends on the type of project you're shooting. It depends on how many takes you're doing. It depends on how much footage you have overall. One thing I feel like beginning filmmakers, especially nowadays, one mistake they're going to make, unless someone tries to tell them otherwise not to do it, is they're just going to take too many takes. They're going to do too many takes, too many shots of the same thing, and you don't need 15 takes when the majority of the takes are fine. Like, you don't need to keep doing it over and over and over again. Like, you're just gonna if you're editing the movie, if you're the director and you're also going to edit the movie, you're going to give yourself a headache. You're going to just wear yourself down that way. And if you're the director giving it to the editor, then you're just going to make the editor's job a nightmare. And the thing is, it's totally avoidable. So, beginning filmmakers out there, and even and novice filmmakers can definitely agree with me on this. Don't take too many takes. It's not necessary, unless you really like. I guess if you're like Stanley Kubrick, but he was somehow able to find the take he wanted after taking lots and lots of takes. But most people are not Stanley Kubrick, and I would advise, generally speaking, to not do that. You're just going to wear the crew down. You're going to wear yourself down, and wear the actors down. It's just, I don't see it as being worth it. So don't do that.
The vast majority of this equipment is rented instead of purchased. Still, because a Canon film...
Yes, that is true. Like I said earlier, he was going to mention that about the rentals and stuff like that. Actually, funny thing about that, I know a couple companies that don't rent the cameras. They actually buy the cameras themselves. Now, granted, that's because they're doing lots and lots of projects all at once. So instead of just doing like one film project, they may be doing like 20 commercials, or they may be doing 20 commercials and like 10 other business type videos in like a month. So in that regard, it actually does make a lot more sense to go digital anyway, because you're saving on cost and you're saving on money and time. Because instead of shooting on film for a commercial and then having to get the film processed for the commercial, you can just shoot on digital and then get paid. The company, the corporation, their company pays you for the commercial, for producing the commercial. And if you're doing lots and lots of work, then it actually makes sense to actually buy the camera, since you're going to be using it a lot more often. But generally speaking, if you're making films, it's generally the thing is that you rent it. If you want to buy it, that's up to you as well. There are certain advantages to buying it. For instance, you just have more control over your own camera. You know the ins and outs of it. Like if you're renting from someone, like you're renting from a camera company, for all you know, that camera's been damaged to a certain extent, or you don't even know at all. Actually, what am I saying? You don't know at all, because someone else who used the camera before you might have just screwed it up somehow. All right. Next video. Next thing.
Compared to something like digital storage, digital is the winner in the economic section. Number 3.
All right, so he said digital is the winner in the economic section. I have to agree with him there. I do agree with him. Digital is the winner in the economic section. And I feel like I can kind of speak from my own personal experience on that, even though it's anecdotal evidence. But there's definitely been times where I'm glad I use digital cameras, because if I had used like a film camera, I definitely would have been paying a lot more money for that kind of stuff right now. And I'm glad I'm not. Thankfully, the air conditioning in this place stopped running for now. And I apologize, it's been running for all this time. I hope it's not too much of a problem, but if it is, sorry. You're probably not even watching this video by then if that's the case.
Noise and grain. Noise and grain are the little dots that show up in your image when the camera can't generate enough brightness. If you have film grain in your project, it usually means you were going for the classical aesthetic. However, if you have digital noise in your project, it's because you copped out on your lighting budget. That said, most modern digital cameras do beat out film cameras with regards to ISO capabilities. Most film stocks don't ever go higher than 1600 ISO, while many digital cameras can go well above 1,000,000 ISO. Digital is the winner in terms of having less noise, but in terms of aesthetic quality, most people still prefer film.
I think that's interesting, because when it comes to noise and grain, there is that standard where it's if you use a digital camera, it does it's generally a worser reception if you have noise in it compared to if you use a film camera and you get grain slash noise. If you have it in your film, it's it just for some reason looks nicer there for some reason. I don't know why exactly that is. That used to be the case with me more so in the past. In terms of digital grain or noise, I've grown more accustomed to it. Like if I seen digital grain or noise in a film, it doesn't really bother me as much, maybe as it once would have in the past. But yeah, when it comes to film grain, that really isn't a thing. Like if you see the film grain, it's just like, oh, cool. Like you don't really think of it as a bad thing. But with digital, it's more of a two-sided sword blade kind of thing. Like in some cases, it can be bad. In some cases, it's okay. But like I said earlier, I don't really make much of a big deal about the grain slash noise as I used to. Yeah, I'm just okay with that. Yeah.
Number 4, dynamic range. Dynamic range is a range in which a camera can capture the lightest and darkest areas of an image without losing detail. While many people argue that film captures highlights with more details, the latest digital cameras have made great strides in dynamic range, the most advanced cameras reaching nearly 16 stops. This one's extremely close. So, what's your take? Is film forever the king of cinema, or is digital already beaten it out? Leave a comment below.
I think that film is not the king of cinema anymore. 20 years ago, maybe that was the case, but no, it's definitely not the case. I would argue it's not the case anymore. It's not the king, or it's not the sole king. If it is still king, it's not the only king. Digital has become the second king. So basically, film has to share the throne with digital filmmaking. So it's either that. It's either film is not the king, or if it is the king, it's not the only king. It has to share the throne, or has a second throne for the digital filmmaking king, basically, because digital filmmaking has come a long way in the past 10 to 15 years, and it's definitely a king in its own right. Now, in terms of digital, there are a couple things that I want to talk about. One thing is availability, and that relates to economics as well. What I like about digital is it allows people who may otherwise have not had the chance to make a film because of costs or because of location. Like if you don't live in the United States, it may have been harder for you as a person to make a film, because if you live in a country that doesn't have the resources like the United States had to make films with film strips, then yeah, it could be a lot harder to do that. You know, there's also distribution. Like if you don't, it may be hard to get your film out there depending on where you live and depending on the circumstances of the country that you live in. So I think digital filmmaking is liberating for some people because it allows them to get their vision made in some kind of regard or in some kind of sense. Whereas before, it would not have been possible, or it would have been harder to do so. And whether you like the film or not is regardless. I don't think that really is the point of what I'm saying there. What I'm trying to say is like it's just opened up more opportunities for more people. And some people might suggest or argue back like, yeah, but that means there's gonna be more more crappier films or whatever. Well, first off, that's a subjective thing. It's not objective at all. That's just your opinion. Let's not forget here, film is art. And art, at the end of the day, is subjective. This is not science we're talking about here. We're not talking about the science of things. We're talking about the art of things. That's number one. Number two, I can say the same thing back about celluloid film. You know, there were movies made, like Plan 9 from Outer Space, that were okay, or they were mediocre. They were shot on film, but that didn't mean anything. They were shot on film and it's still not. It's still kind of like one of those so bad it's good kind of movies. So, I mean, why does it matter? Like I said, The Room from 2003 was shot on film as well. So I don't think it really matters so much. Anyway, I'm gonna wrap up this video. I'm gonna plan to make some more videos soon on this topic. I also got a podcast with V-Man, another YouTuber. It's called the V-Man and West Podcast. And this first episode was about horror movies. You can check it out on the same YouTube channel. And also check out my other YouTube channel, Twilight City Studios. And also check out that other dude's channel, V-Man, his YouTube channel. Links in the description section. Thank you for watching this video. Bye-bye.